This episode is brought to you by Podbean, the easiest, most affordable option to get started in podcasting. Stay tuned to hear how you can get your first month of Podbean for free. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Committed Critics, a pop culture podcast where we're not only committed to our opinions, but also each other. Aww. I'm Kevin Lau.
I'm Ryan Davis.
And I'm Zachary Wright. And man, we are just loaded up with guests this week. Mr. Special Guest Star, who are you this week?
My name is Matthew Kuns. I'm a voice actor based out of Houston, soon to be based out of Illinois. I have been known for Dr. Moroboshi in The Pet Girl of Sakura Sao, as well as in After the Rain.
Ooh.
Hello. Yeah, it's a show that does stuff with anime and whatever.
So you voice the English dub correctly? Correct?
Yes, I do. I do not learn Japanese to do this. I am bitter about that, but that's a later date when I learn Japanese and can yell at Japanese producers for not putting me in the show.
Matt can actually speak fluent Japanese. Matt, go ahead, do it right now.
I wish.
Go.
God, I wish. No, I can't even remember how to say hello, my name is Matthew. That's how long it's been since I've taken Japanese.
See, I told you
like
it's throwing to the wind. It's like throwing on the infinity train. Look at that segue, guys.
That's a terrible segue. I want to reject that segue.
So, Infinity Train. It's an animated show that started off on Cartoon Network and moved on to HBO Max in its third season. Currently has 4 seasons, each of them under 2 hours long, and is created by Owen Dennis, who is one of the storyboard artists for the regular show and another J.G. Quintel show, the Close Enough on HBO Max. So Infinity Train is basically an anthology series. I'd say it's a hard one to pitch, but stick with me. It's an anthology series, so each season has its own little story that has its clear beginning, middle, and end, and yet there is this overarching story about these people who find themselves on a magical train that has no ending. That's every cart of the train is its own little pocket dimension, and basically the train kidnaps these people to help force them to work on their own emotional problems, and they cannot get off the train until they figure it out.
Ooh.
So, yeah,
it's
crazy.
mandatory therapy for individuals.
It is interdimensional alien therapy, and
Yes.
I think that is a much better pitch.
Yes.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Let's give our quick spoiler-free thoughts and how we rate it. Kevin, you want to go first?
Yeah, Infinity Train quickly became one of my favorite shows. I believe, actually, I started mentioning Infinity Train on the show starting episode 1, because we started recording Committed Critics after HBO Max came out,
Right.
and that was the first show I watched.
It was, yes.
Yeah, so this has all been leading up to this one episode where I'm like, Infinity Train is great. One of my favorite shows ever. 0 faults. 5 out of 5.
This is Kevin's Infinity War. It's all been Committed Critics has all been leading to this. The last 20, 30 some episodes have been leading to the Infinity Train.
Exactly.
Ryan, what do you think?
And now I have great news. Kevin and I are launching our separate podcast and leaving you two in the dust.
Fair enough.
Rip.
Ryan, what are your thoughts?
With Infinity Train, so first off, I did not know it was going to be an anthology series, so I was very surprised, like pleasantly surprised, because I did enjoy that there was plenty of stories to tell. That said, I cannot tell whether or not the show got progressively better or worse. It kind of just stayed at a good, solid good. Like,
Very
I don't know.
consistent, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I found something relatable in each of the characters overall. And if there was more, I would watch it. If there wasn't, it's not the worst thing.
It is the
Overall,
worst thing.
I will hardcore disagree with that when we get into the not spoiler-free things, because I have a thing I need to know.
He has thoughts.
Mhm.
Overall, I give it a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, that's fair.
Nice. What about you, Zach?
Matthew? Oh, me? Okay, sure. I love the stories that were told. The world building is amazing. The format is very simple and it's super easy to binge watch. I remember like going into this, I'm like, okay, I'll have to binge watch it. And like it was 10-minute long episodes. I'm like, oh, my jam. This is my jam. Let's go.
The
so I was
way
really
Kevin
excited about
literally
that.
sold it to me is he went, Matt, you have to watch the show. It's very good. It's an hour a season. And I went, you know me well, Kevin. You know me well.
Yeah. My attention span is not very long, but man, this was like perfect for me. The whole series roughly for the 4th season now is roughly 8 hours total, right? Roughly.
Yeah, so it's just under 2 hours per season.
Right.
So I've seen the creator of the show advertise it as like each season is shorter than a Marvel movie.
Yeah, it really is. And
Which
it's
is
really
pretty good.
It's simple and easy to get through. The story, the characters and themes are just stand out. It's so like the themes and like are simple, but also like they're done in a complex way that makes you really think. And yeah, it's great as the series stands now and what we have. I can give it a 5 out of 5, no problem.
Nice. What about you, Matt?
We give numerical values to art. How dare you?
I know, right?
The show itself is very great. It runs fluidly. It makes me very happy when I saw it. My point remains. It is a show that when you're watching it and sitting down, you slowly but surely fall in love with all of the characters, even the ones that you're like, well, Simon, you're a weirdo, aren't you? But without spoiling too much, the show really does what it needs to do and functions very fluidly as an anthology series.
Yeah.
The acting is superb. I don't know a lot about art. I can't say if anyone in this room does. But I feel as though the art is pretty solid. I think it's Adventure Time level, if not a little better, because he doesn't shy away from using the more flashy computer animated effects for things when he needs to show something.
It's more detailed than Adventure Time, but the animation is still just as fluid.
Right.
Exactly. And I think that's pretty nice. And especially when I'm sure everyone in that room, when he said there's a pocket dimension in every single car, was so excited to do all of those backgrounds. I bet they had the greatest time in the world.
Oh, yeah. I just love the naming conventions of each like episode. It's just like the Corgi car. It's like, I love it.
The Corgi car. Yes. But I'll give it the supplementary 4.5 out of 5 because of something I think the ending does, but we can get there later.
Fair enough.
Cool. Yeah. So now we are diving into spoilers. So if you haven't seen the show, highly recommend doing so. Watching the show on HBO Max would help support the show and hopefully maybe get a 5th season. We'll see, but
the
more
4th
on that
season
in
was
a
a
bit.
push, Kevin. The 4th season was a push.
It was a
them.
hard push. So it's like right now it's canceled, but we can bring it back.
Sure.
Maybe.
If we can get the Snyder cut, we can get Infinity Train season 5.
Exactly.
You know what? That's not wrong.
HBO Max, you can do it. I believe in you. So, diving into spoilers, what is one thing you liked about the Infinity Train? Ryan, did you want to kick us off?
Sure, why not? Okay, so basically, one thing I liked, my favorite characters were Tulip and Mirror Tulip. Season 1 and 2 were probably where I was immediately like hooked. Season 3 was good, and I did like the divergent growth of Grace and Simon, even though Simon is clearly insane.
Yes.
But it was the very first 2 characters that hit for me, and I was very surprised that this was a Cartoon Network show starting off.
Right.
So I was like, I was like, oh man, this is like really good. It's like this must be like Adult Swim or something. Oh, it's just regular Cartoon Network.
Yeah.
Okay.
They just aired it in front of children.
And I was just like, man. And all I could think was, I would love to see if Disney could actually do something this is complex. That's all that went through my head.
No,
I know.
Disney had a hard time with Gravity Falls and now Amphibia. So
yeah. I definitely enjoyed season 1 and 2 the most. They had the best soundtrack, best finales, best characters for me.
Yeah, I want to echo what Ryan says real quick.
Let's echo.
I just want to. My thoughts kind of line up with Ryan's real fast. I enjoyed Tulip and Mirror Tulip, but based solely on the fact that I love Ashley Johnson as a voice actress. She's amazing. Ellie in The Last of Us, mwah, chef's kiss. But I do like how each of the her performance in each one with Tulip and Mirror Tulip turning in when she claims the name Lake, it's 2 completely different performances, and they're so amazing. And then go into season 3 with Ryan said, the diverging growth of both Grace and Simon. It's kind of reminded me of The Last of Us 2 a little bit, where it's nice to see from the side that was antagonizing Mirror Tulip. And it's a different way to frame it. And so when you start empathizing with Grace, you're like, oh, okay. It's very different. And I really like season 3 for that aspect of it.
Mhm.
All the characters are fantastic. Each one, the pairing, the set of characters that they go through, the sort of change they go through is so satisfying to see at the end. Even when Simon gets his face melted off, it's a nice, satisfying way for his character to go because he's gone too far.
Yep.
But yeah,
He got the high score for committing murder.
You. You can't. God damn it, Kevin. Okay.
But yeah, no, it was amazing. I enjoyed everything about it. I liked the first group better with Tulip, Atticus, and 1-1 just because I love that little ball. I love 1-1 so much. Oh,
Yep.
Mhm.
But yeah, fantastic.
Cool. What about you, Matt?
Kevin, actually, my favorite part about this show is while watching it, Kevin and I were talking about it because we were gushing, and he said the joke of Grace actually learned something and Simon got the high score for attempted murder. And I laughed so loudly, my roommates asked me if I was okay. Because it is a show that moves forward in a darker and darker progression, right?
Yeah.
It is a show that tonally has a consistent downward trend until season 4, which I think is kind of what season 4 didn't do or did do for me.
Right.
It has a flow that works fantastically. The characters are all very crisp and amazing, in the sense that all of them are very distinct and unique. None of the what does the Apex call the people who aren't passengers?
Nulls.
Thank you. Yeah. All of the nulls are very well realized and really move forward. A particular shout out to Tuba, played by
my heart.
Diana Delano. A very nice woman, I'm sure, and a very just solid stuff on her end. So yeah, the actors are good. Who knew the voice actor would think that?
Yeah. It's orange o'clock.
Kevin, what are your thoughts on it?
So yeah, I really like the use of visually tracking the characters on their emotional journeys because, you know, as we know, if you've seen the show and not in listening to the spoiler section, so the numbers on the passengers' hands kind of marks how they are learning their life lesson. And then once that number reaches 0, that's when they can leave, and that's only accomplished when they understand what they need to do to change as people. So if you want to learn how to write characters and create engaging character development, this show is now your homework. It literally visually charts the path of character growth and how it should work, and it's really amazing.
And can I add to that real quick, Kevin?
Mm-hmm.
I do like how around episode 5, like toward the middle of it, the shift happens where it's like, okay, here's the world, like a little bit of world building in the first 5 episodes, and then it's just boom, all character for the last 5 episodes. Like it just goes all balls to the wall in those last 5 for each season, and it's awesome.
Oh yeah, all about that setup and payoff.
Yeah.
But now we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about one thing we didn't like, but also some final thoughts on the show. See you in a bit. Starting a podcast? Try a Podbean Unlimited hosting plan. It's what we use here at Committed Critics, giving us the opportunity to have our show on Pandora, iHeartRadio, and even Spotify. You can get your first month of unlimited hosting for free on us by going to podbean.com/committedcrits, just like our Twitter, or by clicking the link in the description. Podbean, the easiest, most affordable option to get started in podcasting. And welcome back to our discussion of Infinity Train, probably one of the best shows on HBO Max currently. So if you haven't seen it, go and check it out. Like I said, each season is under 2 hours long. Now, moving on to continue our discussion, we want to talk about one thing we didn't quite like in the show. Zach, did you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure. Truthfully, about the show, there's really nothing I disliked about it. I think I'm kind of speaking for all of us, and Matt and Ryan will get into their critiques later about season 4 being weaker than season 1 and season 3. But besides that, really, I think that was intentional because of how dark season 3 ends.
Yeah.
So I mean,
need that little palate cleanser.
Right. Yeah. It's a palate cleanser for, I think, what would season 5 would be a little more heavier stuff. And I think it's really like, it also sets up a timeline before season 4 is set before the events of season 1, which thank you, Kevin, for telling me that, because I didn't realize that until I was like, wait, oh, that's Amelia before she takes over. That's why 1-1 speaking correctly. So yeah, it's a nice setup. Like, okay, this is the time before. So I think season 5 would have maybe focused on, like, I think Kevin, you and I talked about this recently, where it was like season 5 would focus on like Amelia's time as the conductor, and that would have just been dark as shit. So season 4 is a nice palate cleanser for what it is. If Infinity Train gets renewed, I think I would want a little more connectivity between the stories than what we're getting. Like, I love when I see 1-1 pop up somewhere, or like the Turtles pop up somewhere, like from season 1 and like season 3 and 4. It's just cool because it shows like it's all in the same world. It's not, we don't need like an MCU-ness of it or any kind of Marvel. Like, that's not necessary. I just like a little more. I love how the show handles world building, and it's a master at it. I just want a little like more nods to the previous season. But besides that, like, chef's kiss, you know?
Mm-hmm. What about you, Matt?
Okay. I have feelings about season 4 for no particular reason on the part of Owen Dennis, unless he knew it was the last season. So here's my problem with season 4. Season 4 feels lighter, both materially and literally.
Right.
And the issue with season 4 is that it has Amelia in it, and Amelia is not the major character, and Amelia is not used. I would push back against how Amelia became the conductor, and I think we finally need the season where Amelia deals with that turtle girl.
Hazel.
I think we need Amelia's exit as the exit of the show. Because as much as the story is about Tulip, and much as the story is about Mirror, Tulip, and all of them, the story is basically Amelia's time on the train. Amelia is our kind of like godlike figure in the background who's doing things. So I think the problem with season 4 is that it works with Amelia, and Amelia kind of shows up and does things, but like not really important wise.
Yeah.
And if they don't have time to do that kind of stuff, and I think they could have used it more on Min and Ryan, who are very fantastic and full characters. But man, I would like more. There's something about them that maybe it was the fact that I was watching the show on the haze of my second vaccination, but I didn't feel them as fully as I felt Mirror Tulip or Tulip, or even Grace and Simon, who I think it is because they were played in such stark contrast to each other that they eventually became something terrifying.
Yeah.
No, I
get what you're saying.
I think the solution for like Min and Ryan's problem was, hey, just stop being dicks to each other. Whereas coming off of like Simon and Grace, it's like, oh, let's not commit not genocide, but like let's not murder anyone, you know?
No, it's genocide. No, it's genocide.
Straight genocide. Yeah.
It's trained genocide. A thing only said uncommitted critics.
Right. So I mean, like coming off of like that to be like, hey, you two buds, let's just stop being assholes to each other. Like,
I don't know if they're being assholes to each other actually. It's just more
like identifying their complication and knowing what they want to do with their life.
Right. I think neither of them really know.
Yeah.
Which is, I think maybe that's part of the problem, because it's like, you know, they don't have a goal in mind. But whereas all the previous protagonists did have a goal, but then they obviously had to change it for realizing what they needed.
Right.
This one's like they don't know what they needed, but because they also don't know what they want.
Right.
Exactly.
So, which still worked in the grand scheme of things, but yeah, it's definitely made it feel lighter and made that you couldn't quite grasp on the main characters, but I personally really enjoyed it. Still.
Not to mention, I personally did not grok with. I'm not an indie artist fan, and I'm certainly not an indie Canadian acoustic and mini synth artist fan. Like, that music was not my jam. I got
Don't worry about it.
It filtered, but I was still like,
it's a kid show.
It's all right.
About it.
You act like Making Bacon Pancakes isn't currently topping the charts.
No, it's true.
It was like in 2010.
Making bacon pancakes.
Anyway.
See? It's a good show. It's a bop.
Ryan, how about you? What's one thing you didn't like about Infinity Train?
I mean, we kind of have gone on over the whole season 4, Min and Ryan. Yeah, Ryans are stupid, so obviously season 4 would be the worst. I literally cringed when I heard his name was Ryan. I cringed and I was like, oh, great.
How do you think I feel every time someone's named Kevin?
Kevin, how does The Office make you feel? Scale of 1 to 10.
Well, you see, The Office isn't good. So
You're right.
Fair.
But yeah, like Zach said, coming off of season 3, which was dark as hell. I mean, it was definitely a shift, and I did not like the shift. I was enjoying kind of I could not figure out what the timeline was, and I did not care at all because something I did like with it was that you kind of saw characters from like previous seasons, because like season 1 you get introduced to Myrtle like halfway through season 1. Season 2 you get introduced to Grace and Simon halfway through, and in season 3 you just don't get anything of Min and Ryan because it's all the way before. And I'm like, well, why do I care about what happened before all these other people who I actually have cared about?
Yeah, that was one of my questions too, was just, and I'm interested to know your thoughts on it, because I can't really grok how or why it's a prequel. Like, what is the information that is necessary?
Can I throw it doesn't contribute anything other than to say, hey, Amelia was with one for a second, and then she took over the little robots, and she was like, hey, I'm
Can I throw my 2 cents in here real quick, just real fast?
Yeah, please do.
So, Kevin, you told me a while back that there was supposed to be like 8 seasons of this, correct?
Holy shit.
8 seasons in a movie.
Okay. So, having known that, I think they were setting up season 4 to be like okay,
the start of a new trilogy.
Start of a new trilogy, yeah, exactly. So season 3 ends, and we have Hazel and Amelia off on their thing, but we don't see it yet. We introduce Min and Ryan to introduce the timeline, where the placement is in like where we are now in this new set of 3 seasons. We have Amelia take over on the train. Season 5 would focus on Amelia like finally like becoming the evil conductor, and then we know where like we see what she went through and all like what she did as a conductor. And then season 6 is her with Hazel having to basically like make reparations for that and like redeem herself through that.
So the actual creator of the train comes back in the movie, I would gather, right? That would be
well.
No idea.
Who knows? I mean, like, so the way I was thinking of it, like, where it's like we have seasons 4, 5, and 6 as a trilogy about the prequel times.
Yeah.
And then 7 and 8 go back to like going back to the modern times, and then like it's the movies, the final payoff where we have focus on Amelia with Hazel, maybe have flashbacks of like going back to like her time on the train, but also just fully wrapping up the show. I mean, this is all theory. I know Owen Dennis has released some plot story ideas out there, but like none of them was like official. Just like, oh yeah, we'll toy, like they were thinking of toying with like 2 characters who fall in love by seeing each other's tapes but never actually meeting each other. There's like, there's definitely like season 5 is he said it was definitely going to be a very Amelia focused and very heavy. That's why they wanted the palate cleanser in season 4. Between seasons 3 and 5, but so, and then like there's the movie is about Amelia, that's apparently the movie's already been written according to him, so
we're probably gonna get that movie and they're gonna rewrite it to give her exit.
I just don't think the season 4 palate cleanser wasn't just like a palate cleanser. It was almost like it was just completely off the like just it's like if you're saying the train is one linear thing, this just took like a separate car, went off the rails somewhere else.
I feel like the train is not a linear thing. I feel like that's the point of the show.
I mean, like my point of it is like their story seems so disconnected from the rest of the like story overall that I just did not care at all. Like I like at the end of the season, I was like, oh, that was that.
But Ryan, you like the prequel trilogy?
There's a prequel. There's a good prequel trilogy, and there's. See, the problem is there's 1 not a trilogy at the moment, and 2
not at the moment,
and 2 it just doesn't like. There's no like I guess there's no connection, like barely any connection other than like the brief 15 seconds we have of Amelia.
And I think that's the cancellation of the show, like coming in where it's like, okay, they kind of had to put a little bit of like a bow on it in case this wasn't like for it to be its last season. So I mean, yeah, it ultimately drags it down, but like that's something they. I mean,
season 3 was a bow.
No. I feel like here's my thing, y'all. The only bow I will be satisfied with is when Amelia gets her exit. That's going to be my only satisfaction with this thing. Which is why season 4 made me sad, is because when it started, I was like, oh, this is going to be the twist 'em up. and we're going to flash forward a few years because these two get stuck here and Amelia is going to get her exit with these two dudes. And then that didn't happen. And it was a nice show about two Canadian artists, which was fine. But I was still over here like, I just want this woman to get off this train. That's why I felt about train.
That's why I felt like season 3 was like she kind of got an exit because she went off with Hazel.
No,
because she
that was a setup for something bigger.
Let me finish. She goes off with Hazel. Like they go off down the train. She's obviously trying to take Hazel off. She is not clearly an ending, but it's more of an ending than what we got. Because at that point she goes off. You assume she took Hazel, made her reparations. We don't know if she got off the train. She could have gotten her face melted like Simon. We don't know. But we know her number probably went down.
Her number was going down when we saw her walking away with Hazel. Her number was decreased. Granted.
So that's the thing. Like that's as close. That might be as close as an ending as you get to Amelia, and that's fine by me. Like I was like, okay, that I literally thought that was going to be the last time I saw Amelia. Like I don't know.
That makes me sad.
Sorry,
this kind of brings me to my point. The one thing I didn't like. The fact that HBO and Cartoon Network don't feel the need to keep the show going.
You piece of crap.
That's the one thing I don't like about the show.
I feel like Brandon Sanderson and Owen Dennis are your favorite humans. I feel like if you met either of them, you'd die happy.
Probably. Hashtag finish Infinity Train. That's all I got to say. Put it out there.
No, yeah, I agree. Yeah, because like that's the thing. Like the reason I think Amelia like needs more stories because like basically Hazel's kind of like her kid to some extent. Mm-hmm. So like that implication shows there's more to her story. But anyway, moving on. Final thoughts, Kevin.
Good show. Watch it, please. Watch it, and then after you're done watching all 4 seasons, watch it again, and then while you're watching again, tweet hashtag finish Infinity Train.
Spam Twitter, just hashtag finish Infinity Train, please.
Let's be honest. Twitter's a garbage dump that no one actually wants to be on. So spam the one positive thing we can find in this dark hellhole of a social media app.
Exactly. Goodbye,
Ryan.
Restore the Snyderverse. I never supported you anyway.
Ryan, what are your final thoughts?
The only reason I did the renew Infinity Train for Kevin's sake, but also I'd rather get Young Justice season 4. Like I said, but other
Young Justice season 4 is confirmed.
I know, and I need that first before I even care about what happens.
They aren't even related, man.
But they're both on HBO Max. And one had to go through hell to get back to where it was. But anyway,
2 different studios.
And it's already back. Infinity Train needs to come back.
If another season of this is made, I'll watch it. If not, I'm not gonna be upset. If they do make future seasons, I want to be more like season 1 and 2, where it blends comedy with the dark tones. Whereas season 3 was too much dark and season 4 was too much comedic. Because I think with the style of animation it has, if it's going to be dark, it needs a bit of the blend of comedic weirdness in order to keep it balanced. And that's just my opinion. But yeah, I'll watch it if they make another season, but it's no skin off my shoulder if they don't.
Mm-hmm. For sure. How about you, Zach?
Fantastic show. I think it's safe to call it perfect in my eyes, quote unquote perfect. Season 1's my favorite because, like I said, I'm a sucker for 1-1 and Ashley Johnson. And Jordan was watching with me, and she saw a corgi, and it was awesome. But man, when that corgi almost bit the dust, I was so scared. I was like,
Atticus dying hurts you on a spiritual level.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Oh, and then he comes back, and I'm like, oh, thank God. Even season 4, which I wasn't as much into as the other seasons, it was still super well done. Like there's nothing like quote wrong with it. I think just the circumstances of how it would spin the studio and like cancellations and like where the sausage gets made money wise, like that's the problem. Like that's really the only issue. But okay, Matt, your turn.
I think I gave most of my final thoughts because I like to talk. But I do think it's a show that we need to see more of, the kind of anthology series, the kind of each episode can sort of stand on its own. Not this show, but I mean, I'm a big fan of periodic detective dramas that don't have kind of overarching themes. And I'm a big fan of this kind of anthology method. We as a culture are more ADHD than ever. Facts.
Yes.
And that's probably just more diagnosis and more coffee addictions. But my point remains that we need these kinds of things and these kinds of episodic individual natures really can and really do form some very good art. And as quote unquote good as the MCU is, it's not. I feel like the emphasis on individual art moments is something I miss from my childhood. In the sense of, I used to watch crime dramas with my mother. They weren't good at all. But I think that it means something when a show takes these moments and does an hour in such a crisp kind of movement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, definitely with like more shows like Infinity Train, where it is targeted, even though it's targeted for kids, it's not afraid to talk about mature themes and ideas.
I want to bust Matt's balls real fast that he thinks NCIS is better than the MCU.
I did not say.
And that's where we're leaving.
How do you know?
Kevin, take us out.
Zach, I have questions about how you knew that was the thing.
You just seem like an NCIS guy.
Yeah.
We're not talking about this.
I got him,
One day we'll
boys.
do an episode of NCIS.
No, we're not. It's a bad show.
Whenever that
it's
happens.
a bad show. Okay.
I love how they hack a computer.
It's a bad show. Okay. I know that.
This has been Committed Critics. You can follow us on Committed Crits as COMMITTEDCRITS. You can follow us on YouTube at Committed Critics, spelled the same there as it is here and everywhere else. You can support us on Patreon. Just $1 or $2 a month really helps the show. And special thanks to our current patron, Davey Peppers from the YouTube channel Game Mechanics. Go ahead and check him out. Special thanks to our sound engineer, Jordan Smearman. And Matt, do you have anything you want to plug?
I'm a big fan of hiring me for things. So please reach out if you need a good voice. Or if you want some writing done. Kevin and I are currently working on a book and you're like, I'm a publisher. I want to write a book that's really bad, or publish a book that's both hilarious and the dumbest idea I've ever heard. So you can find me at just Matthew Kuns. That's just how my name is spelled in the episode description. 899@gmail.com for business inquiries only.
Ooh. And on that note, we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.